Welcome back, everyone. So, though it is in the heart of the summer, I have my pumpkin mug, always wanting fall. So today I'm doing a little bit of an intro for a new video where I'm gonna read and talk about my thoughts of a bunch of Alice Oseman books. So I've already watched Heartstopper and read all the graphic novels, and so maybe for Christmas, or maybe I treated myself, I don't remember, but I got the 4-pack of these books of Alice Oseman's. So we have Solitaire, Radio Silence, I Was Born for This, and Loveless, and they all are these very cute, kind of like minimalist books. And so I am going to do a little reading vlog here where I'm reading the various different ones. And now I can't get this back in here. But, so I already started Loveless. Yeah, I already started Loveless as an audiobook. And I'm actually about halfway through it, and so far I think it's really good. I think just as Alice Oseman does, she is really good at kind of creating these really in-depth characters, and the characters all feel so real and feel like there was so much thought put into every character. And so I've really enjoyed getting to know all the different people and seeing how they kind of connect throughout the story. And I also think that I really love how much, smacking myself in the face, how much we have just really spent a lot of time with the main character growing and kind of figuring out who she is and her own identities and how she feels about those, and kind of all the like back and forth and the turmoil that can go along with that, because of feeling nervous or unsure of what this means, and because sometimes these things go against a lot of like societal messages of what is perfect or what you should be. And so I've really enjoyed that, and I think the story is really fun. I've been flying through it, so I will continue to update you on my thoughts as I listen to that. But at the same time, because I always like to have an audiobook and a physical book going, and I don't have a physical book right now, I am trying to decide which one of these other 3 books I am going to read at the coffee shop, because me and my partner are going to go to a coffee shop, just have a chill afternoon, and do some reading. So I'm thinking, okay, so I think I'm going to leave Solitaire for the last book, because I think that would be a fun kind of treat, because it's the one that directly relates to Nick and Charlie and their friend group and stuff, and Tori Spring is in the Heartstopper novels and TV show. So I think I'm going to save this one for last. So I think I'm going to go for I Was Born for This. This sounds like a cute, fun book. It is essentially about one person who is obsessed with this trio of teenage boys who are in a pop rock band. And then one of the boys from the band, and I think it's probably going to be a love story between the two of them. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm gonna actually go read this at the coffee shop. So I will check in with you and show you our cute little setup when we get there. Time for an update. So, I've got 3 books to talk about here. I have not read all of them. First off, let's talk about Radio Silence. So I finished this, I was listening to it on audiobook, and there goes the book. It was really good. I think that it wrapped up in a very cute way. I did really, really enjoy it. I don't think my feelings changed too much from my initial update, but I really enjoyed it, and I couldn't put it down. I like flew through it. I think the representation was really good, and that's pretty much my thoughts on it. It was a solid book. It wasn't like the most revolutionary thing that I read, but it was good. So then, because I finished that one, I am going to be starting the book Solitaire because I have it on audiobook. So I'm going to be listening to that today as I go around the apartment and just do some chores. So I'm really excited for that. This is the one that includes, wait a minute, I didn't finish Radio Silence. That is not the book I was reading. I finished Loveless, which I also have, it's just not with me. I finished Loveless, so all those thoughts I just shared was about Loveless. But I'm going to read Solitaire now, or listen to it on audiobook. This is the one with Tori Spring, who is Charlie's older brother from Heartstopper, or older sister from Heartstopper. And so I'm excited because I feel like that's the one that's tied into the world the most, that I already love, because I started with Heartstopper. So excited for that, and then after that, we'll get to Radio Silence. But to update you on where I'm at in I Was Born for This, I have been physically reading this book, and I am page 231. So I'm about that far through the book, and I'm really enjoying this so far. My initial prediction was that the two main characters, so Angel and Jimmy, were going to end up getting together and dating or having some kind of romance. I don't know that that is true anymore. And this, I'll try to keep it spoiler free, but just things happening, I'm not really sure if there's going to be a romance between them, and there's not much left in the book. Well, I guess there's a good chunk left, but I just am not feeling like there's going to be a romance. But I do love each of their stories individually. I think I feel a little more drawn to Jimmy's story, but that's because he's a trans man, and so I think that was really exciting for me to start reading, and I didn't know that going in, so once I found that out, that was really exciting for me. I think Angel's story is also good. I just am interested to see how she's going to interact with the rest of the characters and with Jimmy. And sorry for the noise, my cat is playing with toys in the background. I don't know if you can see her. So I'm going to go ahead and start Solitaire, and then maybe I will have some time later today to continue reading I Was Born for This, because I have been really loving this and reading through it really quickly. Well, when I do have time to sit down and read it, I really enjoy it and don't want to put it down. So we'll see. I am about almost halfway through, or by the end of today I will be halfway through the 4 books for this video, so that's really exciting. And I will have all of these Alice Oseman books under my belt. So I might include some clips of me doing some chores, probably not. So I am going to get to doing some chores, listening to Solitaire, and I will check back in when... Actually, I think that's a lie. I think I'm completely mixed up. I think Radio Silence is the book that I have on audiobook. So maybe that's the one that I'm going to be reading or listening to while I do my chores. Either way, it'll be a little mystery, and I'll let you know in a hot sec when I check back in with you. I'm a big liar. So in the last clip, think I was talking about starting Solitaire, and that did not happen. So some time has passed, but I wanted to finish out these books because I have been listening to them slowly throughout, and I have been reinvigorated because the new season of Heartstopper came out. So I've been watching that. I have 2 episodes left, and I'm obsessed with it. I think we're gonna finish it tomorrow. It's so cute. So far, I do think it's following the book series or novellas well, or graphic novels. It's following them well, just like it has in the past. Something does feel off about the second season though. I don't feel the same kind of cutesy vibes as I did the first season, but maybe that's because I binged everything for the second season and I wasn't watching it alone, I was watching it with other people. But those are my thoughts. We'll see how it wraps up though. But before I finish that, I want to kind of update you where I've been at on all these different books in the past month or so since I started this reading vlog. Especially because I want to get it out because, you know, I'm just watching Heartstopper and just loving it, and that was kind of why I started reading all these books in the first place, was to get in the spirit and get in the spirit before Heartstopper Season 2 came out. So, I've got the Heartstopper books here. I haven't read them, but I have them here because probably later tonight, I got this Nick and Charlie, a solitaire novella. And so it's a little actual novel with some pictures and mixed media type stuff and actual text that I'm gonna read probably later tonight. And it's kind of connected and obviously written by Oseman, so. But let's talk about the 4 books that I started out this video with. So, if you remember, we already finished Loveless, we already talked about it. Then, I was physically reading in the last clip, I Was Born for This, and I have finished this, so let's talk about this one first. So, I Was Born for This, I was really into it at the beginning, especially because I did not, let's rewind for a second. So, if you don't know, this book is essentially following 2 point of views. So it's following Angel, who is this girl who is obsessed with this boy band called the Ark. And the other perspective is one of the Ark members named Jimmy. And originally going in, I knew that there would probably be really good representation and lots of diverse identities included, but I didn't not know that Jimmy, the one who, and this might be spoiler territory, so I will put a border, but if you don't want to hear that. But essentially, Jimmy is, I didn't know that he was trans. And so that was really exciting to be reading along and figuring that out. And I think I might have said that already, but I really enjoyed that. So then I was partway through in the last update, and I was unsure if there was going to be a romance or not. Spoiler alert, there was not. And I kind of wished that there was, because I don't know that, I think the messages of friendship were really strong in this book, but I also wish there would have been a little romance, or maybe that want for romance is because I didn't really like how it ended. So I think altogether this book was okay, but the later probably 25% of this book was really chaotic, I would say, and already it feels fantastical because, you know, there's a boy band and we're reading from their perspective and we're reading about this girl potentially meeting up with the boy band, and so it's already got that kind of not everyday life kind of vibe to it, but I didn't really like the ending, and it's a little chaotic. It felt like it came out of nowhere. It didn't seem super realistic, and also it just went really deep really fast. And I think that some of the conversations that were had about mental health were really good, but I just wasn't really prepared for that. And so I think overall, I think I still ended up giving this book a 4 stars. Then, let me update you on, what is the other one? So then, I also read Radio Silence, and I don't think I have filmed any clips about it so far, so you're just getting my thoughts on this one. So, Radio Silence, I think I probably gave it a 3 or 4, I'd have to check, but I think it was pretty good. I thought the premise was kind of fun, but, so essentially, there is 2 kind of characters in here that we follow. I actually think we might just follow one, but there's another main character. So essentially this girl, Frances, she meets this boy who, actually, no, or does that person use they, them pronouns? She essentially meets this person named Aled. I can't really remember. Maybe let me check. I think it was something like Aled uses he, him pronouns, but identifies as non-binary. Maybe. But so, essentially she meets Aled, and Aled is actually the creator of this online podcast storytelling, weekly podcast type thing called University. And she's been obsessed with it. And so it's kind of this really big coincidence that they live in the same town, and she gets to meet Aled. And so she's really excited by that. They develop this friendship. They work on it together. Still spoiler territory. Sorry, my cats are freaking out. This one was probably my least favorite out of these because their friendship all of a sudden takes a nosedive, and it feels as if Aled gets mad at Francis for no reason. Not no reason, there's like stuff going on, but it seems like Aled overreacts, and I don't really fully understand the intentions and the motivations behind it and the feelings, because what happened and what Aled got mad at wasn't necessarily Francis's fault, and she was trying her best to be a good friend to him, or to Aled, and Aled just doesn't care and breaks off their friendship and blames her for everything. And so that felt like it came out of the blue, and it didn't feel like there was a lot of consistency in Aled's character and his motivations, and how Aled kind of interacted with Francis. So that was a little tough for me. And yeah, I felt like the ending didn't wrap things up well enough. It again felt chaotic. I think part of that might have been that it was the third book that I was reading in this kind of reading vlog all around similar things, and I was listening to it on audiobook, and so I think I got kind of confused and wasn't paying as close attention as I could have, so that might be part of it, but definitely I think this has been my least favorite so far. Then we come to our last book, Solitaire, and I guess last book and a half, because I want to read this one today as well. But, so I have Solitaire. I actually do have it on audiobook again, and I'm going to get back into reading it and listening to it while I pop around the apartment. You can already see some fall decorations. Even though it's only August, me and my partner love fall, and so we wanted to start decorating. So we're gonna clean up and keep decorating. I'll include some clips of us decorating, and then I will come back in a little bit with an update about Solitaire and my first kind of thoughts. And then I'll just keep updating you. I'm hoping to finish Nick and Charlie tonight, and we'll see how far we get in Solitaire. And then finishing season 2 of Heartstopper tomorrow. So I'm very excited, and I will check back in with you in a little bit after you watch me decorate this apartment. Okay, I'll just move that like that. Just to give you a little bit of an update, how I'm feeling about Solitaire so far. So I think I'm about 10-15% into the book, and one thing is that I forgot that it seems like this is written after the Heartstopper books. This is after those had already happened, which I was going into this thinking that this was happening before the Heartstopper books, so that was just kind of a little bit of a if you are going to read this and go into it, that's something that just remember. But I'm not going to say any spoilers necessarily, but so far I'm enjoying it, or I guess it's been fine. I wouldn't say I'm loving it, I wouldn't say I'm hating it, but there have been some things that just throw me off a little bit. So there is a lot of, which I know that the main character, Tori Spring, is kind of negative, and it seems like she's got some depression and feeling like she is disconnected from everyone and doesn't find joy in a lot of things. But she, not only her, but just people keep making, not really consistently, but making some off-color comments, I feel like, that just like don't need to be there. So at one point, I think it's supposed to be self-deprecating, but it just feels like the author could have gotten this point across without using this kind of joke. But so she essentially, and this is a warning, so she essentially, Tori, someone is talking about her and saying that, asking if she has, or is interested in someone or likes anyone or something, and she says something like, no, for someone to like me or want to date me, they'd have to be deaf, blind, or mute. And I think it was supposed to be self-deprecating, but also feels like, I don't know, it just feels like a punch at people who have like physical impairments for no reason. Like, it didn't need to necessarily be there. So I didn't really love that comment. And then also there was another point where it's not even Tori. So you can't even say like, oh, this is the character, she wrote this intentionally, like this character is supposed to be unlikable or just hates everything and makes these really off-color comments all the time. But one of the other characters, Charlie, makes a comment about this boy at school that Tori says she just met, and she's like, oh my gosh, that guy, he is mentally unstable, or something like that, but then provides no, like, first of all, I think calling someone mentally unstable is just a little ridiculous, especially when a lot of the books cover mental health topics, and a lot of the characters have mental health concerns going on, including Charlie, which then Nick does point out, saying that, Charlie, you're kind of mentally unstable too, or something like that. But the wording just feels so off and clunky, considering what I know from Alice Oseman, or what I've come to expect, is that her novels include a lot of diverse characters and identities, and tackle really tough topics like mental health stuff in a really wholesome and nice way a lot of the times. And so for that comment to be in there, it just kind of threw me off. Also, there was nothing to back up. Also, this character that they're calling mentally unstable does not seem mentally unstable at all. He seems just a little quirky. And I actually think that he's one of my favorite characters so far. So it just feels like some of these comments just don't need to be there. So I'm curious if that's just going to keep happening, if there will be some kind of payoff or commentary on those things, or that will change at some point, or there will be like some education. I don't really know. But those are my thoughts right now. So I'm going to go ahead and keep listening to it, and I will probably give you a tour after my next update or something of the different things that I have cleaned and set up for fall. So I'll see you in a little bit. Okay, got some updates for you. So it is the next day from the last clips, when we were reading while setting up fall decorations and stuff. So this morning I sat down and read the entirety of this little novella called Nick and Charlie, and 5 stars. So good. It was absolutely adorable. I think what I would say is it is as cute and wholesome as the Heartstopper graphic novels, but it is like a little spicier, just because in the Heartstopper novels, you know, mostly Nick and Charlie are making out and kissing. This goes a little bit farther than that in terms of spice level, but it's like one scene and a couple mentions. So it is super cute. I absolutely adored it. It's got little pictures, so you still kind of get to see what's going on and see Alice Oseman's artistic style, and I think there's like text messages throughout as well, which is kind of fun. But all in all, I really loved it. I thought it was very cute, and I just don't have anything bad to say about it. So, love that. So glad to know like that Nick and Charlie's story is going to continue, especially after the graphic novels ended where they did, and this kind of is after that, I think. And then also rewatching season 2 of Heartstopper, this was very cute to kind of continue the story. In terms of Solitaire and how far we got in that yesterday, I have been reading it, and there's one more small annoyance that that I just wanted to mention, is that I know this was probably written before J.K. Rowling had all her issues and her transphobia and all of that. But, well, I guess she probably always had that, but before it was public knowledge. But there's just so many references to Harry Potter that it's always a little to like read through. But other than that, I actually think my opinions have kind of turned. So in the beginning, there was kind of just some off-color comments that I didn't really feel super comfortable with, and kind of some jabs and using like mental illness as like an insult. But I think that has definitely lessened and not happened as much. And we've been really exploring the mental health of the characters in the story. And I think it is, again, still just done in such a nice way, which is really in contrast to some of the comments that were made at the beginning of the novel, which is really interesting. But I also have loved to kind of watch the growth and development of Tori as we've gone throughout the novel. And I also really like one of the main characters, one of the people who she kind of connects with at the beginning of the novel. There's 2 boys, and I can't remember. I think one is called Lucas, and one is called... I don't remember what the other one is called. But whichever one, not the one... So there's one that she was best friends with in school previously, and then is trying to rekindle this friendship. But there's another one who she just meets new. And this is the one who Nick and Charlie made some mean comments about. But he actually has quickly become like my favorite character. I absolutely adore him. And I love him being around Tori and how persistent he is. And I have really enjoyed getting to know Tori a little bit more. It's really interesting because though I know it's the same character and Tori was obviously in this novel, I actually found her a lot more charming and funny in this novel, or in this novella, than in Solitaire so far. But I think that's because this might be after Solitaire. Well, that does make sense considering it says a Solitaire novella. But so I think maybe things have changed for her, and we're seeing the kind of, you know, old Tori who's like struggling with her mental health and being lonely and things like that. And then maybe this is like after that. So she's just kind of got the quippiness and the funniness without the kind of mean comments and being lonely and stuff. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. I've got about 2 hours of the audiobook left, and we are going to continue to clean the apartment today and decorate, and we're having some people over later to finish Heartstopper Season 2. We've got 2 episodes left, so maybe later tonight I will update you when we finish Solitaire and when we finish Heartstopper Season 2. Well, so I will see you probably a little bit later. Okay, I'm gonna give you a little bit of a tour of the apartment and the fall decorations that we set up, while I also give you a recap of some of my thoughts on Solitaire and I believe Heartstopper Season 2. Hi. Okay, let's talk about Solitaire and my final thoughts, and then also my final thoughts on the Season 2, the last 2 episodes of Heartstopper. So, let's start with Heartstopper. So I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed this season, but I do think that it does not live up to the first season. I think there is something about the first season that is so magical and wholesome, and I think it's part of the fact that it was the will they, won't they, like, you know, that kind of tension the whole time, whereas in the second season, they're together, and so it's all these other things that are going on that are still good and important to talk about. And I did really enjoy it. I am kind of sad that they didn't touch on the mental health stuff as much as I thought they were going to. Maybe they will do that in a future season, but we'll see, I guess. So ultimately, if we're keeping to like the book rating scale, I would give season 1 5 stars. This one, I would give season 2 of Heartstopper, I would give maybe 4, 4.5, because it was still really good. I am so glad I watched it. But anyway, let's talk about Solitaire. So I did come around, and I really enjoyed this book. I think I ended up giving it a 4.5. I really enjoyed the kind of evolution and growth that we saw throughout the main character, Tori. I loved that you kind of got to peel behind the curtains and see, like, her motivations for why she acts the way she does, or why she sees the world in the way she does. And so I think it, like, let me get past some of my early annoyances with some of the off-color comments. And now I've said off-color comments a million times. But I did really enjoy it. I was right, and I accurately predicted who Solitaire was going to be. So if you don't know, essentially, there is a blog called Solitaire that is kind of like inciting like riots and kind of like wildness at this school. And kind of, it starts out with pranks, but then it gets a little more intense and a little too intense. But I accurately guessed who was behind Solitaire and why they were behind Solitaire, so I'm just gonna give myself a pat on the back for that. So I thought that whole storyline was fun. And then ultimately, one of my favorite things was how the book ended. I think the last line, I'm not gonna read it out because it's spoilers and I want you to be able to have that moment, but if you know, you know. The last line of this book just ties it all together and made me cry. I didn't like full on cry. I shed one single tear, but it was really good. So I really enjoyed this. I think it was probably one of my favorites out of the 4 books, the 4 novels of Alice Oseman's that I read. And so those are my final thoughts. And that's wrapping up this Alice Oseman reading vlog, where we also decorated for fall and we watched Heartstopper season 2. So ultimately, my life is going great right now. I am in heaven with all these things going on, and I will hopefully bring you another video in the future with some more themed content, maybe some fall or Halloween reading vlogs. Very excited for that. But let me know down in the comments, if I were to do a fall or Halloween reading vlog, what are your favorite books to read that just get you in that fall mood? Okay, well, thanks for hanging out with me today, and until next time, stay grounded.